Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Today we're going to be talking about just the start of this channel and basically like some daily sports news and just playing some games behind it. So, in breaking news today, we actually have Harden decide to opt into his player option. It is a $35.6 million option for the 23 and 24 season. Uh, but what it's looking like is that the Sixers, probably by the request of James Harden, are going to be looking for a trade. So far, it looks like the Clippers and Knicks are expected to be teams that might engage with Harden. So the biggest thing for me with this is James Harden wanted to get off a championship team. He has Joel Embiid right now, and yet he's deciding to leave that behind. I get that they only made it to the second round, lost to the Boston Celtics in Game 7, but it just really doesn't make sense to me why he would make this move. I don't know if he's trying to possibly go back to Houston, like he said. From what I understand, Houston doesn't really seem that interested in him, and they're more going after Fred Van Vliet because now he is a free agent with them. So, big takeaway from this if Harden goes to the Clippers, that's actually pretty good for the Clippers. They'll be able to have a point guard who can pass and give assists. Harden this year averaged about yeah. Yeah, so so he led the league last year in 10.7 assists. So to me, that's perfect for Kawhi and Paul George if they can stay healthy. That's the biggest obstacle I think with the Clippers. Um, there's no championship team without Kawhi or Paul George both playing. So I just don't see that happening. The next one is the Knicks. To me, Jalen Brunson and Kyrie fits the uh, running the floor kind of guy, just getting all the assists with Julius Randle and all. That might be an interesting team, I guess, but I don't imagine it can go anywhere to the finals or past the second round of the playoffs, honestly. So if I were James Harden, I'd probably stay with the Sixers. I think they could do a lot better this year. Tyrese Maxey is kind of grown into an all-star since last year, and we'll see how it goes from there. But my guess is that Harden just felt like he didn't belong there. My guess is Nick Nurse coming there, he knows it's going to be a harder play style, and he probably didn't want to deal with that. But I'm pretty interested to see where he goes. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Clippers, but I just don't see how that's going to be a good team with Kawhi and Paul George most likely going to be out or hurt. Um, Next thing we have, so I saw a story. Apparently, Nets want to get off Ben Simmons. The only thing I have to say to that is who's going to take him. I can't imagine many teams who would want him or want a failing contract like that. It seems like the Wizards are possibly going into a rebuild right now, but I can't imagine that they would want to take on Ben Simmons' contract. So for Ben Simmons, he hasn't really played many games in the last 2 years, uh, mostly because of his injured back. But I can't. With the shooting that you need today in the NBA, I don't understand how Ben Simmons would ever really find a team that wants him. So right now he's listed as a point guard, 6'10" point guard. And to me, if I were any team, I would try and move him to like a center maybe. See if he can play down. He'd probably get pushed around, but honestly, like maybe make him like a Draymond Green type, where he's playing more of a power forward kind of, or maybe like a point forward kind of deal where he's passing the ball like Draymond, but he doesn't really shoot as much unless it's like inside the paint. Anything besides that, it just really wouldn't make sense to me. I don't understand why any team would want Ben Simmons. He's he he's been all but injured in the last like since basically he was with Philly. So the Nets are wanting to get rid of him. I don't expect him to probably play this year. If he does, he's probably going to just get injured again. So I just don't see much upside with that. Next we got so from what ESPN is reporting, looks like Mo Bamba and Malik Beasley will be parting ways with the Lakers. So I think the biggest reason the Lakers are deciding to do this is they realize that with Mo Bamba as a backup center, if Jokic is ever on the floor, which is the team they're trying to beat right now with Denver, if Jokic is ever on the floor and Anthony Davis is off of it, I don't imagine that Mo Bamba can handle Nikola Jokic. But what I also realize is that Mo Bamba is actually a very good scorer of the basketball. He's just really lanky. So maybe a team like the Mavs would want him to kind of get JaVale McGee off the floor. It was recently said that that the Mavs were in trade talks with the Suns during the draft, but it kind of went nowhere. That due to being the Suns did not want to pick up JaVale McGee for DeAndre Ayton. So maybe you could have Mo Bamba in the post with Luka and Kyrie and just kind of see how that plays out. But the Malik Beasley thing kind of surprised me. I thought Malik Beasley played really well this year. Shot good from three. It was a very, I mean, I get it. They want to make room for Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and some other players. But to me, I don't know how good Austin Reeves really is. So Austin Reeves averaged like 10 points last year. Compared to a lot of players, Gary Olynyk was much better than that. I don't understand the Lakers' obsession with Austin Reeves. He's a good point guard. He plays well with LeBron, but except for that, he's a very mid-level shooting guard, and honestly, sometimes they don't really trust him to play point guard. They do in certain situations, but not all the time, especially if LeBron is on the floor. So giving away Malik Beasley just seems like they're giving away some shooters. Mo Bamba is completely understandable. They want to win, and they know that if he goes up against Jokic, it's not going to be a favorable battle for them. But the Malik Beasley thing just kind of surprises me with that. Except for that, it looks like the Bulls have decided to exercise Andre Drummond's $3 million player option. Andre Drummond is a very good center. He can get down low, kind of push people around. Of course, he's really old at this point, but I mean, I don't. If I'm being honest, I really don't see the Bulls going anywhere much longer. DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine are not exactly the two stars you want for a playoff team. So I mean, they lost in the play-in last year. I just don't see that team going anywhere. But they did get Andre Drummond back and Vucevic back by signing a 3-year, $60 million extension. So they got both their backup center in Drummond and their starting center in Vucevic signed, but I don't see it really going anywhere. So yeah. Next up, Damian Lillard. So I've been hearing a lot about this in the news. I watch a lot of Colin Cowherd and Hoops Tonight with Jason Timpf. Those are some guys I listen to a lot, and they know what they're talking about. But from what it sounds like, is Dame wants to stay in Portland. Now, how much I believe that, I really don't. I think that Dame wants to go to a championship team, like he said before. He wants to play for a championship. He doesn't want to be in a rebuild. And the biggest thing to me is if you draft Scoot Henderson at number 3, if you're the Trailblazers like they did, that's Dame's replacement. How is he going to see that in the next half the season if you're throwing Scoot out there with Dame all the time? I mean, that's just you're basically working with your replacement. I don't know if Dame's going to want to do that. I've heard talks about the Heat, Milwaukee, but I honestly don't see the Bucks picking him up. I don't see really the Trailblazers wanting Chris Middleton. I mean, he's old. He's getting injured a lot more than before. I think the Bucks would have to make a bigger package if they were wanting to get Dame, but I just don't know if they would want it. But the Heat, what do you have to give up? Because the Trailblazers definitely do not want guards. They have enough of those with Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson. I mean, they can't keep adding to guards. So what would you give up? Are you going to give up Bam Adebayo and make it to where now you don't have a center, or at least a good one? I know everybody hates on Bam Adebayo for his finals, but I mean, he did pretty decent, considering he's playing against Jokic. So, I mean, I wouldn't give him up. So who else are you gonna give up? You can't give up Jimmy, because that's your main star right now. But I can't imagine that I don't see the Trailblazers wanting to give up Dame if they're not going to get anything substantial in return. Like, if you're going to give me Tyler Hero and Caleb Martin and all that, I mean, it's just a bunch of guards. And so I can't see that happening. I think what is honestly going to happen is Dame's going to play another year with them. He's going to realize he probably should have gotten out when he did. But then his trade market's going to go down, and the Trailblazers aren't going to get anything back for him. Right now, I think the best time to get rid of him or trade him is now, when his trade market is super high, or at least considerably more higher than it will be next year. But, I mean, knowing the Trailblazers, they probably don't want to give up Dame without getting something back in return. I just don't see that happening. Not something that they're willing, the Heat are willing to deal away, that is. So for me, I think Dame's going to stay in Portland. I just don't see it going anywhere from there. It's going to be a lot of I mean, they're going to be in a rebuild next year, let's be honest. I can't imagine that they'll be a 40-win team next year. They'll probably be 35 wins. And everybody's saying, well, just build around Dame. With what? Are they going to give up all their young players so Dame can get picks? Or Paul George or any of those guys? I don't see that happening. Who truly, it's been rumored that Draymond Green the Trailblazers want Draymond Green. Okay, what does that do for your team? Because let's be honest, Draymond's probably going back to the Warriors. He wants to go play for a winning franchise. So, are you gonna what was gonna happen if you got Draymond? What you think you're instantly a championship team? Like Draymond's gonna help you with defense, but that is really about it. He can't really shoot as well as he used to. He's a lot he's a lot older now. He's probably gonna be closer to those injuries. So I just don't see where the Trailblazers thinking with that is gonna go. And Paul George has said that he wants to stay with the Clippers, from what it sounds like. So I also just don't see them getting that either. Next up, big story this week. Being I had just started my streaming and channel today. I didn't really get to talk about this, but biggest story this week is the Warriors got Chris Paul for Jordan Poole. So I went to the Nuggets and Warriors game when they played at the end of the season, and I saw firsthand that Jordan Poole was yelling and getting mad and basically talking to Curry and getting pissed at him, and it was just it wasn't, I guess, surprising to see, but I mean, try to act mature on the court, which is probably why they got rid of him in the first place. Like, it is obvious now that Jordan Poole cannot act mature. He's just not. He's a kid. He's the same age as me. I mean, I know that I can be immature sometimes. And honestly, like, I could never imagine having millions of dollars, and being told that you're going to be the one to replace Steph Curry. That kind of goes through your head, and I feel like for Jordan Poole it did. With the Wizards doing what they're doing, I can imagine that he's not going to like it there, but he's going to be 25 points a night. The reason people probably go to their games now. So, I mean, good for Jordan Poole. On the other hand, though, you got Chris Paul, who has notoriously hated Steph Curry and Draymond Green, and we'll see how it goes. I've heard people talk about maybe you put him on the second unit and get a big and have him play pick and roll, but Chris Paul has never been known to be a bench player. He started his whole career, even back when he was with the New Orleans Hornets, back in the day. He started his whole career. So why now is he going to decide to be a bench player? Especially for the Warriors, like he still thinks he has a lot left in the tank, which I don't think he does. As we saw last year with Phoenix, he's downgraded a lot since he's like started with the Suns, but I'll be interested to see how this team does this year. Honestly, I'm thinking they're going to be a play-in team if they don't get anybody else, but if they get somebody that can like run a pick and roll with Chris Paul, maybe a playoff team. I just don't see them going to the finals this year. I think it's going to be second round exit, maybe first round if they get the Kings again, because I hear the Kings are going to start making some moves and start upgrading the team. So if they have to face the Kings again in the first round, who's to say that the Warriors are going to win this year? I mean, I see this whole Chris Paul thing as a move of let's get away from Jordan Poole, bring in Chris Paul, somebody who's a veteran and smart. But even then, I mean, Chris Paul he's a winning person, yeah, and a winning teammate. But I mean, when was the last time he got to the finals? It was with the Suns, and they lost to the Bucks. So honestly, who's to say that the Warriors even make it past the first or second round this year? We'll see. So for NFL news, not a lot happening. Biggest thing coming up today looks like four more players were suspended for gambling violations in the NBA or the NFL. Sorry. So my thing is with the whole gambling violations. So let's see. Yeah, so Isaiah Rodgers, Rashad Berry of the Colts, Demetrius Taylor, who was a free agent, and then the Tennessee Titans offensive tackle Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. So I guess my biggest thing is if you know not to gamble at your workplace, like why do it? It truly, like, I get the whole they're not gambling on the NFL. I mean, some of them are, but not all of them. They're gambling on like college football or basketball or stuff like that. Even then, the NFL has made abundantly clear that they do not want gambling anywhere around the facility or anything like that. So all these players are getting suspended for it, and it's like they're not learning. They see, like, I forget who it was, but in the last like 3 weeks, some another big name. Jameson, the wide receiver on the Lions, had gotten suspended for gambling. Like, you see that and you decide, yeah, let me do it also. It doesn't matter if you use somebody else's account. It doesn't matter if your friend does it for you. Like, just don't do it. So, honestly, I don't. So, in total, this season, 9 players have been suspended for gambling. Jamison Williams, Detroit, that's the wide receiver. Demetrius Taylor, Shaka Toney, Isaiah Rodgers, CJ Moore, Quintez Cephas, Stanley Berryhill, Rashad Berry. And let me just say this. There are 3 6-game suspensions, which is Jamison Williams, Nicholas Petit-Ferrer with the Tennessee Titans, and Stanley Berryhill with the Detroit Lions. The rest are indefinite. So that means you're out for the whole season. Think about that. You just lost money on the whole season for what? To win a couple of $100, maybe, if you win? It truly just shocks me. Honestly, it just seems like the players aren't really thinking about their future here. Like, it doesn't really make much sense to me of why they're deciding to do this. Like, in the grand scheme of things, how much are you actually winning on a bet? Unless it's a really, really huge bet, I don't imagine you win much. So, I mean, these guys just doing it in their facility. Like, why could, honestly, if you did it at home, nobody would know about it. But yet these guys are doing it in the facility and they're being caught. And it's just honestly bad on them for even deciding to do that. In the facility, that is. Another thing I saw today, Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs was talking about like how much he gets paid and that he's okay with it. Like, he is okay with being underpaid as a tight end. So let me just say this. He's right. He has won 2 Super Bowls in his time with being with the Kansas City Chiefs. And, you know, of course, he probably sees Tyreek gain like $30 million a year, but Let's also look at Tyreek's situation. Last year, he had to play with three different quarterbacks. Um, and this year, he's still having to play with Tua Tagovailoa. Now, I've heard Tyreek say multiple times, Tua is way better than Mahomes, all this stuff. Let's be honest, guys. Mahomes is going to be right up there with Brady. He's probably, most likely, I would say he's going to pass Montana. But to me, I don't think that Hill really means that. I think he really just is saying that to like kind of support the team kind of thing. And he's just happy that he got $30 million a year. But for Travis Kelce, so the average NFL team pays their tight ends like $10 million. For four tight ends, they pay $10 million. Travis Kelce right now getting paid $15 million. So I don't think he's underpaid, but also looking at most wide receivers, which he does, he's more of a, honestly, he's more of a wide receiver than he is a tight end. He doesn't block as well. He's more of a route runner, if anything. But even then, he's getting paid a lot more than tight end. So underpaid, that's a bit of a stretch. I think that he's getting paid pretty decently. If he wants to keep winning like he says, then take the discount here. I mean, Mahomes did. Being the highest paid means you don't really win as much. And for Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, all these guys who wanted to get paid a bunch of money, just watch. Their teams are going to start going downhill. It's going to happen. So another thing I saw today was the Broncos. The Broncos are, again, being hyped up like they were last year. And I don't understand it. So let's just take a recap here. Last year, they were super hyped up for having Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, who had worked so well with Aaron Rodgers, and all this stuff. Jerry Jeudy, all these good receivers, But when it came down to it, the coach was horrible. Russell Wilson looked even worse. Just fell off a cliff. I don't know if it's age or... people are blaming the coach, but I think it's more of like a 40-60 kind of relationship there. Russell taking 40, Nathaniel Hackett taking about 60% of that blame. But even then, if you're Russell Wilson, you gotta be better. And maybe Sean Payton this year can fix Russell Wilson, but we'll see. Truthfully, they're still in the division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Honestly, I don't consider the Raiders a threat. They have Jimmy Garoppolo, and honestly, it looks like he's not gonna be good this year. He failed his physical, so if we're being honest, it's probably gonna be Brian Hoyer playing for the Raiders this year. And Brian Hoyer isn't exactly the young guy he once was with the Patriots. But to me, I don't see the Broncos going very far unless they get lucky and get a wild card spot. But the AFC is so good right now. I think the team's going to be 11-5 and not go to the playoffs. And is that going to be better? You're going 11-5 and not going to playoffs. So, I get you can't get off the Russ contract, but even then, Sean Payton can only do so much. I get he fixed O-line and all that, but I don't see the Broncos making a big push to the playoffs this year and making it super far. And if they do make it to the playoffs, then it's probably going to be either the wild card divisional round that they get out. So, I think Russ is washed, but well, people can argue with me on that one if they want to. Another thing that I saw today, the Patriots decided to extend Devontae Parker. So that's pretty interesting to me. For the fact that Devontae Parker is not a great receiver. Honestly, I can't imagine he'd be the number one receiver. I think Juju will be, unless they get DeAndre Hopkins, which is seeming less and less like a possibility. But, I mean, what are you giving Mac Jones here? The kid's in his third year. He had to play with the defensive coach last year as his He had to play with the defensive coordinator as his offensive coordinator last year. Let's just think about that. This guy, Matt Patricia, really only knows defense. He was a head coach, but let's be honest, he probably didn't run the offense. So Matt Patricia is the defensive or offensive coordinator, and his whole career he's been a defensive coordinator or a head coach as a defensive head coach. So Mac Jones is having to deal with getting either just having to understand everything basically by himself, I assume. This year, I mean, Bill Belichick is doing him no favors. Let's just say that. Bill Belichick has now gotten Juju Smith-Schuster. Okay, great. He was the third best receiver on the Chiefs during their Super Bowl run. Let's see what else. Devontae Parker can't separate from anybody. Not a super fast guy. Not really a very good route runner. He had one good year with the Dolphins. Ever since then, he's been kind of on the downhill. Let's say you get DeAndre Hopkins. Are you gonna be letting DeAndre Hopkins take the brunt of the catches? I mean, yeah, he's gonna get doubled, but I don't really see where Bill Belichick is going with this. There's rumors that he could be on the hot seat this year, which is understandable. Because if we're being honest about what Bill Belichick is, he's a coach that's defined by Tom Brady. Tom Brady is not defined by him at all anymore. After he won that Super Bowl with the Bucs in the COVID year without a preseason, yeah, Tom Brady is his own guy. He doesn't need Bill Belichick. So Bill Belichick was back when Eric Mangini was coaching with them. In their first or second year with the Patriots, they were 5-11, and Robert Kraft basically told them hey, you guys need to win games or it's not going to be great. Then the next year, they get Tom Brady and they go on that run, and yeah. But so Bill Belichick has never been known as a winning coach without Tom Brady. With Brian Hoyer, when Tom Brady got hurt, with Brian Hoyer, he went 11-5 and didn't make it to the playoffs. And they had the most sacked team. The team that actually almost went undefeated the year before, but they lost to the Giants with the helmet catch. So you go 11-5 with Brian Hoyer, but don't make it to the playoffs with the most sacked team in the NFL at that time. Okay. So, and then he was he won 38 games out of 44 so below 500 with the Browns, and he just cycled through quarterbacks with them. Never could find one that was good. Bill Belichick is, I would say, a Hall of Fame coach. Most wins, all that kind of jazz. I think he still has a few wins to go to pass Don Shula, but I I don't think Bill Belichick's story goes without Tom Brady. Tom Brady's story can go without Bill Belichick. He won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. By the way, should we say that Tampa Bay was probably the worst team the year before Tom Brady went there? So I just I don't see how Bill Belichick really wins this year and does well. The the chances of the Patriots making it to the playoffs in this AFC are rare to none, and I think rare just left the building because I don't see it happening. The Bills are having some issues, but let's be honest, Josh Allen will probably carry the team if he needs to. And the Dolphins are really going to be good this year. If Tua is healthy, the Dolphins will be good this year. And the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, that's going to be a pretty good team. Aaron Rodgers has his quirks, but he has actually been trying to work with the young guys and try to actually do good in what he didn't do with the Packers. But so where does that leave the Patriots? Probably fourth place of the division, not making the playoffs. I don't think it would matter if they went like 10-5 or 10-6 or anything like that. I honestly just don't see any of that happening. They're probably gonna go, I'm gonna say 9-8 this year. Or maybe they'll go below 500 and go 8-9 this year. I honestly don't know, but I don't see them going better than that. Mac Jones does not have help on offense. Bill O'Brien, yeah, he's going to be a good offensive guy, but I don't know. If you're the Patriots, do you move off of Mac Jones or do you get rid of Bill Belichick? To me, I think the question is pretty clear. I think you get rid of Bill Belichick and see if you can maybe make Bill O'Brien the head coach and give him another chance after him going to Texas and Alabama. I mean, he did well with Houston, but he also had Deshaun Watson. So, I mean, I don't know. This is an offensive league. Bill Belichick is kind of outdated in his time now. So, to me, I think you have to just get rid of Bill Belichick, honestly. Just ship him off, if you will. Yeah. So the next thing we got is Lamar Jackson. So he got his contract. He's doing he's gonna do good this year, but wants to be a pocket passer. If I were to give my standings for the AFC North, my guess is going to be the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns. Honestly, the Browns and the Steelers could be interchangeable depending on how Kenny Pickett does. So my biggest thing with Lamar Jackson is he's a really good running quarterback, right? And yeah, he's a pretty good passer. I wouldn't say he's a Mahomes-like passer. So what exactly is it the Ravens are going here for? Because they got OBJ. Don't know how much that's going to help if he gets injured. And they got Zay Jones as their new receiver. And my biggest thing for the Ravens is I can only imagine that they're probably going to get to playoffs and lose in the wild card. The Bengals will win the division, if I'm being honest. I can't imagine that the Bengals will lose the division after going to the AFC championship game in the last like 2 years. So I think Joe Burrow is hungry to get a Super Bowl. Biggest thing is he just has to go through Patrick Mahomes to get it. But where does Lamar Jackson fall into that? Like, if I were to rank him out of the AFC quarterbacks, honestly, he'd be fifth for me. I would have Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers still has a lot left in the tank, especially on that team with the Jets. I don't see. I just can't imagine that Lamar Jackson is going to be a really great quarterback in a really great division. I think he's either going to get hurt or they're not going to. They're going to be a 12-5 team with no playoff appearance or a playoff appearance and a wild card loss. I mean, take your pick. So, let's see. Oh, another thing. So, with the Bills, I don't know what is going on with the Bills right now. I know Stephon Diggs is upset that he's not getting enough targets, which I call crap on because he's gotten targets. Like, he's been basically the most targeted receiver on the team by a mile, as he was with the Minnesota Vikings. But I think what's going to happen is either the Bills are going to fix their stuff and get to the playoffs, maybe win, or they're going to turn into a really bad team because they have right now a defensive coach in an offensive league, which doesn't help their case. And who knows, maybe are they going to have Josh Allen keep running around like he was last year because they don't have a good O-line? Maybe. But every time they're doing that, every season they do that, Josh Allen's timer is running out quick. He's going to be Cam Newton pretty soon where he won't be able to play. And he's going to be asking back in the league, which I hope doesn't happen. But, I mean, he's on that projection of the Cam Newton running around all the time because they didn't have a good O-line. And, you know, so he likes to run into people. He doesn't slide too much. So, you know, I'm just seeing another Cam Newton with Josh Allen. Next up, the Panthers, the NFC South. So this division, Bryce Young, number 1 overall pick by the Panthers in this year's draft. I can see them winning the division. Derek Carr is good. The Saints are a decent team with some decent receivers and a really good defense. But Dennis Allen, is he a good coach? That's still up for debate. I think the Panthers are going to win this year, their division. They might not make it. I think it's going to be like a Trevor Lawrence kind of deal where, you know, Bryce Young makes it to the playoffs but doesn't exactly win in the playoffs, you know. Maybe the wild card round, but not really. He's not going to make it past the divisionals. There's no way. I mean, got the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Eagles, like Cowboys, all these guys. But I do see him making the playoffs this year. Now, honestly, it probably will be against the Saints and the Panthers, but I think Bryce Young is a lot better of a quarterback than Derek Carr is. Another thing is the rest of that division. It's not great. The Falcons are relying on Desmond Ridder right now. not be the case. I guess they're trying to see what they have in that draft pick, but I don't think Desmond Ridder is a good quarterback. And then you have Baker Mayfield, and yeah, there's a reason so many teams are jumping off the Baker Mayfield train, and I think it's because people are starting to realize that wow, Kevin Stefanski was the best coach ever, getting Baker Mayfield to the playoffs, honestly. Because ever since then, Baker has been nothing but a horrible quarterback. I mean, Carolina got rid of him. I just don't see it going anywhere. So I honestly think the Panthers are going to win their division, but probably just not make it too high in the playoffs. So that's really all I got today. I will be again trying to do this every day or every 2 days, and just kind of what news comes out and what's going on. But that is the first stream of the day, and hopefully the first stream of a long time. Again, I will be posting this to my YouTube channel. That is Sports Talk Today with Pat. And yeah, I will talk to all y'all later. Peace.